Hello and welcome to another Sparkle 5 tutorial. In this one we're going to take a look at the colour palette and see what you can do with it. So here I have a plain box which I've placed on the page, and you can see here if I click on it I can go to my fill tab and I can literally click on the fill tab and I get some information up. Now don't be alarmed by what these mean. They are just colour palettes that you can use. They're pre-selected by Sparkle, but you can change any and or all of them. So if I want the box to be that colour or this colour or this colour, if I want to develop my site using just greys perhaps, just so it looks unfinished for the customer, I can do that. And I've also got here partly transparent colours and fully transparent colours. But you can do that to all the colours as well. That's just a preset made for you. And you can see here at the bottom, it's a 50% transparency. On the bottom row, it says wireframe. And these are a series of almost architectural blueprints that you can use to set up just a basic looking site. It's used a lot by developers so that they don't introduce any colour into it. It's just for a look and feel of the site before the colour gets added. But again, if you want to change the colour, just do so by dragging this, dragging that, and you've got a new colour. So all these little inkwells at the top here can be a separate colour. Now also, if you change the colour of these, they will only remain like that for this particular website. The minute you start a new file in Sparkle, they will resort to their original colours. So that's just a little caveat to bear in mind. Okay, let's go back to our colours. Okay, if I have multiple objects on the page and they're all in this colour, let's just put another box on the page. We've changed that colour. If I click on this colour and I shift it, all the items with that colour will change on the page. So just be aware of that. Don't think you've selected an item and you change its colour, it's going to just affect that item. It will change all the items that have that colour applied to it. Now, if you click on current colour, let's just go back to our little box here and we'll click on fill. And if you click on current, you can now change that colour independently of everything else. You may just want to take a note of the settings in the RGB or HSB or even the hex value so you can apply that elsewhere. It also puts it in this little square here, which gives us access to the system colour palette. And you'll probably recognise this. Most applications that use colour have this in it. Now you can see it's placed that colour in the little tray at the bottom here, and I can simply drag that colour to a dot here and it's now held in memory for me. Now while we're in the system palette we can make some changes. So we can adjust all these colours in our colour wheel, and if you like that colour you can add it to your colour palette there. If we move one along, we have our RGB, CMYK and HSB sliders. So if you've got a particular client who has an RGB or CMYK setting, that's the place to set those up. You can dial those in here. If we move along to the next one, we get Apple colours, we get developer colours. You've also got a set of crayons, and you've also just got the web safe colours you can use. So depending on where you want to pick your colour from, how you want to pick your colour, this is where you might do that. Now if we go on to the spectrum, here you have a full spectrum of the colours plus the opacity bar at the bottom. Now there are a couple of options here. If I click on the three dots to the right, I can say I want to get some colours from a file that I own. So let's have a look, and we will get some colours from this painting. And it puts that painting into my colour palette. And I can now click anywhere and select a colour, and let's say we want this red, and I can drag that into my palette. Now you may have to just restart that. Yeah, you do. You may have to just shut that down, go back to the fill, open this up again, and here's my red. Now that's very useful if you then say, for example, put that image on top. So if we, I can't remember which one it was. It's that one. And you've now got a background that you can use. If we put a little border on it just to separate it out, we've now got a background that we can use which has its colour taken from the actual picture above it. And if we just have a quick look at that in preview, you can see that that works really well. So it's nice to get a colour palette from an existing image if you want to do that. And if you don't want to, just click on the three dots and you can remove that. Remove it, but that colour stays in there for as long as it's, as long as this file exists. And then the last tab on the colours is, so I'll just close this once more and reopen it, is the pencils. And again, these are just presets which you can pick and choose. They're predetermined. And again, use the opacity as you want to use it. That is basically the color palette. If you are creating a website for both light and dark viewing, so for example, if I have my dark color theme, I've obviously got a black background now, and that color may not look so good on the black background. So I'm going to go back to my fill. And here I have two buttons at the top of the color palette. One is for the light view, which I'm happy with that color, and the other one is for a dark view. Now I may want to lighten that color or do something with it. So that changes the color for the dark view theme. If I switch back to the light view theme, you can see that hasn't been touched. And I get an opportunity over here to include the dark color theme in the published site. And I can select that and it's now ticked. So you've got lots of different options in the colour palette. Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.